Alright, this is my continuing commentary on this book right here. And we're going to get into the parable of the sower. Now, at first glance, it looks like a pretty simple story. Okay, seeds fall in certain places, and you have certain amount of yield because the seeds fell in certain places. Not quite that simple. Okay, that's an interesting story for the early church, but let's get into the nitty-gritty of the story. The nitty-gritty goes something like this. We have a threefold pattern here. You have the guy sowing seed in 3 different places, okay? And based on where he sowed that seed, a predator appears. Now, that predator can be in one form or another, okay? And then you see this rather nasty outcome that comes from this. All right? Now let's take, for instance, the first seed. It's planted in the ground, and a bunch of birds come in and they take it. End of story. The second seed is planted, and all of a sudden it's planted in what is called rocky ground. Now, a lot of people didn't understand what rocky ground was, especially in our day and age. Okay? If you're not a farmer in our day and age, you have no idea what it means to be in rocky ground. Okay, in first century Palestine, you had places where you couldn't dig very deep because it was really rocky ground. It was not soft soil, it was rocky ground. And if you couldn't dig very far and you couldn't plant the seed very far into the ground, either the birds got it or the sun burnt the seed. So the second seed was burnt up because it didn't get far enough in the ground to insulate it from the hot sun. Then you have the third seed. Well, the seed actually made it into the ground, but then thorns grew around it and choked it off. So like I said, you have 3 different seeds, 3 different predators, and 3 different outcomes because of the 3 different predators. First one was birds, second one was sun, third one was thorns. Okay? So the message Jesus was trying to teach here was that when you're teaching the gospel message, you're going to meet opposition. That's a guarantee from Jesus. You start preaching the gospel, you're going to meet opposition almost immediately. And therein lies the problem. But you can't give up just because you meet opposition. Jesus met opposition. Did he give up? No way. He went all the way to the cross. What about the disciples? They met a lot of opposition. They were thrown in jail. They were killed for their testimony. Did that stop them? Nope. It went on anyway. That's how the Gospels were written. So, if Jesus didn't stop preaching just because there was opposition, and just because the disciples met opposition, they still taught regardless of the opposition, then the message is, why don't you teach? Don't worry about what you're going to get in the line of a harvest. Worry about facing your opposition and knocking them down. How do you knock them down? You keep preaching despite their opposition. They're going to oppose you, know it for a fact, and keep preaching anyway. That was the message in the parable of the sower. That was the message from Jesus. Well, that ends that section for tonight. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.